Chosen one, this message didn't find you by accident. God led you here for a reason. You've been in a strange season where silence has been your only response. Not because you didn't have words, but because God told you to keep quiet. You wanted to explain yourself, to defend your name, to prove your worth. But something in your spirit said, stay still. That was God protecting you from battles that words could only make worse. This message will show you exactly why your silence was sacred. Let's break this revelation into 7 chapters, so your spirit can understand what heaven has been doing in your quiet season. Before we dive deep, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, because this message isn't just content. It's a divine confirmation for the chosen ones, and a heartfelt thank you to everyone who's been supporting through super thanks. God bless you richly. Your love, your faith, and your consistency mean more than words can express. To every soul who listens, watches, and aligns, thank you. You are seen. You are valued. If your spirit feels this frequency, type 77 in the comments right now. That number isn't random. It's a sacred signal to the Most High that you're ready to understand why God told you to stay silent, ready to see what He was building behind the silence, ready to witness how your quiet obedience is about to speak louder than anything you could have ever said. Not everyone will make it to the end of this message. Only the truly chosen, those who do, will gain clarity, revelation, and spiritual confirmation of why the silence was divine strategy, not punishment. This isn't something you just hear once and forget. This is a living word, a divine download that unfolds layer by layer. Watch it again whenever your spirit calls, because each time new understanding will rise, and soon you'll realize you were never being ignored. You were being prepared. Let's dive in. Chapter 1. God hid your voice to reveal their hearts. Chosen one. The reason God told you to keep quiet was so you could see instead of speak. You wanted to explain yourself, to defend your name, to set the record straight. But God said, no, watch. Because sometimes silence reveals what words hide. When you stop explaining yourself, people's true intentions begin to surface. You start noticing who only comes around when it benefits them, who disappears when you need them, and who secretly celebrates when you struggle. Your silence became a mirror reflecting motives that smiles and words once covered up. God used your quietness as a divine filter to separate those drawn to your purpose from those addicted to your presence. Some people were never loyal to you. They were loyal to what you gave them. When you stopped feeding their ego, they started showing their fangs. They thought your silence meant weakness, but it was wisdom. They thought you were retreating, but you were being refined. They thought you were ignoring them, but you were observing them. Every quiet moment was part of heaven's revelation, exposing hearts that once looked pure. Chosen one, silence is protection. When you speak too soon, you give the enemy strategy. But when you wait, you gain discernment. God hid your voice because your words carry weight. Too much power to waste on people who were never meant to hear your plans. And the more you held your peace, the more clearly you began to see who truly valued your presence beyond what you provided. Silence became your teacher. It taught you patience, emotional strength, and how to move without seeking validation. What once felt like isolation was really divine investigation. And those who truly love you, they understood. They didn't need constant explanations or updates. They felt your spirit even in silence. But those who wanted to manipulate you became restless because silence breaks control. They couldn't handle not having access to your energy anymore. Your silence set boundaries. It separated the loyal from the leeches. It frustrated the manipulators who thrived on your reactions. When you stopped responding, they started revealing. That's how God showed you who was truly connected to your soul and who was connected to your supply. While they were talking, heaven was recording. God saw every whisper, every lie, every attempt to destroy your name. You didn't have to defend yourself. Your silence was building your vindication. What they said behind your back will soon echo as proof of God's justice. So never regret being quiet. God didn't silence you to punish you. He silenced you to protect you. Your peace became your defense, and your stillness became your strength. And when God finally releases you to speak again, your voice won't explain, it will elevate. Because your silence wasn't surrender, it was strategy. Chapter 2. Silence was your spiritual armor. Chosen one, your silence wasn't empty. It was your shield. It was divine protection disguised as stillness. Every time you chose not to respond, You were shielding yourself from a spiritual attack that words could have invited. You weren't avoiding confrontation, you were obeying divine instruction. Because sometimes the greatest offense isn't noise, it's nothing. When you talk too soon, you leak divine strategy. Every time you reveal too much, you give the enemy something to work with. But when you stay silent, your enemies grow confused because they can't read your next move. Your silence becomes a mystery they cannot decode. You start to move differently and operate from a place of spiritual strength, not emotional reaction. When you respond in emotion, you lose divine protection. Emotion opens doors that wisdom would keep shut. That's why God said, "Be still." He knew certain conversations weren't harmless, they were traps. There were people waiting to pull you into debates that would have distracted you from your assignment. But God didn't let you fall for it. Every time you stayed quiet, you dodged a setup you didn't even see. Chosen one, your silence frustrated them because it made them powerless. They couldn't twist what you never said. They couldn't drain energy you never gave. They couldn't manipulate a conversation that never started. While they were planning how to get a reaction, you were busy growing in restraint. And that restraint became your armor. Understand this, your silence was not weakness, it was warfare. You fought back without lifting a finger. You battled through wisdom instead of anger. The world sees silence as surrender, but heaven sees it as strategy. You weren't running away, you were rising above. There were people who wanted you to lose control, to destroy your own credibility with your own words. They wanted to drag you into spiritual warfare through gossip and confusion, but God stepped in and said, "Not this time." He put his hand over your mouth, not to silence you, but to save you. He covered your tongue with grace and hid your plans in silence, because some things can't be shared until they're sealed. God knew what he was doing in your life was too sacred to be spoken too soon. That's why doors were shut, messages went unanswered, and conversations ended abruptly. It was divine interference. Sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all. When you choose not to engage, you reclaim your peace. When you choose not to argue, you preserve your energy. When you choose to walk away, you elevate in silence. That's power, the kind rooted in spiritual discipline, not pride. And chosen one, remember this. The most dangerous voice is the one that speaks only when led by God. Because when you finally do speak, your words won't come from pain but from purpose. Your silence has been building divine weight behind your words. So when you speak next, it won't just be heard. It will shift atmospheres. Your silence wasn't weakness. It was wisdom. It wasn't avoidance. It was alignment. And while they thought you were passive, God was dressing you in armor. Every quiet moment was a layer of protection. Every unspoken word a shield of grace. You didn't lose by staying silent. You won. Chapter 3. God was working behind the scenes. Chosen one, your silence wasn't just about people, it was about timing. You weren't being punished. You were being positioned. While you were quiet, God was busy working in realms you couldn't see. Every closed door, every unanswered call, every season of stillness was part of divine preparation. Heaven was rearranging your path. But to do it properly, God needed your silence, because the wrong word at the wrong time could have altered the right plan at the right time. While you were questioning why things slowed down, God was aligning the details of your destiny. He was preparing doors that weren't ready yet, hearts that weren't mature enough to handle you, and opportunities that still needed divine timing. You thought things were falling apart, but they were actually falling into place. Chosen one, silence is often the language of divine construction. When God is building something great, he hides the sound. It was in the silence that God refined your character. He taught you patience. He deepened your faith. He stripped you of pride and replaced it with power. You learned how to rely on him, not attention. You learned how to hear his whisper instead of the world's noise. And that's what made you dangerous to the enemy, your obedience in silence. You may have felt forgotten, but in reality you were being finalized. God was shaping your destiny, perfecting your name and aligning your steps with divine precision. Every hidden season had purpose. Every pause was preparation. You thought you were being overlooked, but you were being observed. God was studying your endurance, your humility, your response when nothing seemed to move. And because you stayed faithful in silence, he's about to reward you in public. When it's time, he'll reintroduce you, not with words, but with results. The same people who questioned your silence will have to witness your elevation. Those who doubted you will watch your destiny unfold in ways that defy logic. And here's the truth. You won't need to say a thing. Your breakthrough will speak for you. Your glow will testify for you. Your transformation will become your announcement. Chapter 4. Your silence spoke louder than words. Chosen one, you didn't need to clap back. You didn't need to defend yourself. You didn't need to prove your worth to people who were committed to misunderstanding you. Your silence became your response. And that silence was louder than any speech you could have given. Your peace spoke volumes. It told the world that you've grown, that you've evolved, and that your validation no longer comes from human approval but from divine assurance. When you walked away instead of reacting, heaven noticed. When you refused to argue with lies and gossip, heaven recorded it. When you stayed calm while being disrespected or betrayed, heaven rewarded it. That quiet strength didn't mean weakness, it meant wisdom. You understood that not every battle deserves your breath, and not every opinion deserves a response. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. The people who tried to provoke you thought silence meant defeat, but it was your victory pose. You stopped explaining yourself to people who only listened to attack. You stopped wasting energy trying to convince hearts that were already closed. You realized that silence doesn't mean you don't care. It means you've outgrown the need to prove anything. You discovered the sacred truth that not every situation needs closure. Some just need distance. They expected you to break down, but instead you leveled up quietly. They expected you to lose your mind, but you found your peace. They expected you to retaliate, but you chose to rise. You gave them the opposite of what they hoped for. And that confused them, because your calmness became your comeback. You mastered emotional discipline, a language most people never learn. Your silence unsettled them because it revealed their noise. When you stopped speaking, they were forced to hear their own chaos. When you stopped explaining, they had to face their own guilt. Your silence became a mirror, reflecting everything they tried to project onto you. That's why some people grew uncomfortable. Not because you changed, but because your peace exposed their turbulence. And in that silence, heaven applauded you. Every time you chose stillness over anger, the universe shifted in your favor. God saw your restraint. He saw how you wanted to respond but chose righteousness instead. He saw how you held your tongue when you could have destroyed someone with truth. And for that, He's preparing blessings that will speak on your behalf. Because maturity isn't about saying more, it's about needing less validation. Maturity is when you realize you don't have to win arguments. You just have to keep your alignment. You no longer chase approval. You protect peace. You no longer try to prove innocence. You trust that time will reveal everything. You've learned that silence is sacred. It's where God whispers His next instructions. And here's the truth. Chosen one, alignment with God is louder than any explanation you could ever give. When you stay in alignment, your results speak for you. Your glow speaks for you. Your peace speaks for you. What used to drain you now can't reach you. Because silence is no longer your defense, it's your weapon. Chapter 5. God was teaching you discernment. Chosen one, silence teaches you to see what noise hides. When God quieted your world, it wasn't to isolate you. It was to educate your spirit. You didn't realize it at first, but that silence was a classroom. A spiritual training ground where your perception was being refined and your inner sensitivity awakened. When the noise stopped, your soul started to hear. In your quiet season, God sharpened your spirit. You began to see beyond smiles, beyond words, beyond appearances. You started to notice the slight energy shifts, the tone behind the tone, the tension that sits behind a friendly gesture. You began to feel when someone's spirit didn't align with their words. And that wasn't paranoia, it was spiritual awareness. There were moments you couldn't explain, but you could feel. You could walk into a room and instantly know something was off. You could have a conversation and feel your energy drop, even when everything sounded fine. You could sense when someone's presence brought peace and when another's brought confusion. That was God awakening your discernment. Your silence tuned your spirit to heaven's frequency. The less you spoke, the more you heard God. The quieter your surroundings became, the clearer His whispers grew. He wasn't trying to punish you. He was positioning you. Because discernment doesn't grow in noise, it grows in stillness. You had to be silent long enough to separate your emotions from His revelation. That's why you've been more sensitive to energy lately. It's not you being too deep. It's you becoming spiritually mature. Your soul now detects what your eyes can't. That's why certain people you used to tolerate now drain you instantly. That's why small talk feels empty. You're not changing. You're evolving. God was teaching you that peace is the highest form of discernment. If something disrupts your peace, it's not from Him. You learned that discomfort in your spirit is a divine signal, a gentle nudge from heaven saying, "This isn't for you." You began to understand that discernment isn't about judging people, it's about protecting your purpose. Every time you stayed silent when you wanted to speak, your spiritual sensitivity increased. Every time you trusted your intuition instead of explanations, heaven smiled because you were learning how to move by revelation, not reaction. God wasn't punishing you with silence. He was promoting your discernment. He was teaching you to see what others overlook, to feel what others ignore, to hear what others dismiss. You became spiritually aware in a world that's spiritually asleep. You learned to listen beyond sound and sense beyond speech. Chosen one, your discernment is now your greatest defense. You may not always have the full picture, but you'll feel the warning. You may not have proof, but your spirit will whisper, "Be still." That inner voice is not fear, it's the Holy Spirit. You've been equipped to move with wisdom, to sense danger before it shows itself, and to recognize blessings before they arrive. Because the next level of your calling requires spiritual hearing, not just natural hearing. And through silence, God has taught you how to listen to what truly matters, His voice above all others. Chapter 6. God kept you silent to protect your future. Chosen one, there are blessings that require silence. There are breakthroughs that only manifest when you stop announcing your steps. Not every plan needs to be shared, and not every vision should be exposed before it matures. God had to teach you the power of secrecy, because sometimes your silence is your shield. Every time you spoke too soon about what God was doing, the enemy found a way to interfere. Every time you shared your dreams with the wrong ears, spiritual opposition intensified. There were people smiling in your face, but secretly strategizing behind your back. So God said, "From now on, move in silence." It wasn't punishment, it was protection. He made your tongue still because your next move is too sacred to be shared. Your silence became a safeguard for your destiny. You weren't being ignored or forgotten. You were being hidden in plain sight. God covered you so that what He's preparing in your life couldn't be contaminated by jealousy, gossip, or manipulation. You're not being isolated. You're being incubated. You're in a divine womb where growth happens unseen. Think about it. The most powerful transformations happen in secret. Seeds grow underground. Babies develop in silence. Diamonds form in darkness. God placed you in a quiet season, not to stop your growth, but to protect it while it unfolds. Every hidden season serves a purpose. While you were wondering why things got quiet, God was designing a launch that couldn't be sabotaged. Your silence became a divine strategy. You were no longer giving the enemy information to use against you. You are no longer leaking your destiny through conversation. You learned that sometimes the best way to protect a move of God is to make it unseen. Chosen one, this is why you couldn't tell certain friends about your plans anymore, why your spirit resisted oversharing, why every time you tried to speak about what's coming, something within told you to hold back. That wasn't fear, that was discernment. God was saying, "Be quiet. It's still baking." Because your future is delicate while it's in development. He was also protecting you from energy that could delay what's divine. You started realizing that not everyone around you was capable of handling your vision. Some people would have spoken doubt over what you were birthing. Others would have tried to copy or compete with you, and God couldn't let that happen. So He cut the conversation short, removed your urge to explain, and kept your circle small. You were never being silenced. You were being secured. God didn't want you to speak before you were ready. He didn't want you to reveal what wasn't yet fortified, because there's a stage in your purpose where exposure can kill what's still growing. So He shielded you from curious eyes and guarded your destiny behind closed doors. Chosen one, when you finally step out, it will be undeniable. You won't need to explain what happened or how you got there. Your results will reveal everything. The same ones who doubted you, who called you distant, who thought you were losing, they'll watch your elevation in awe. God is about to make your silence speak for you. Chapter 7. Now you'll see why God made you hold your peace. Chosen one, this is the moment where everything begins to make sense. All the silence, all the restraint, all the times you wanted to defend yourself but felt the Spirit say, "Be still." This is where the pieces connect. You're about to see exactly why God made you hold your peace, not to punish you but to position you. There was a time when you didn't understand. You questioned why you had to stay quiet while people lied on you, misunderstood you and tried to provoke you. You wanted to speak your truth so badly, but something deep inside said, "Don't." You didn't know it then, but God was protecting you from battles that weren't yours to fight. And now the results of that obedience are about to unfold before your eyes. The same people who disrespected your silence are about to witness your breakthrough. Those who mocked your calmness will be silenced by your success. They'll wonder how you did it without them, how you grew without gossip, how you thrived without fighting back. But the truth is simple. While they were talking, God was working. While they were plotting, heaven was preparing. Chosen one, now your silence will become your spotlight. Your peace will become your power. Your restraint will become your reward. You didn't have to shout to prove your worth. Your glow is proof. You didn't have to argue to prove your innocence. Your elevation is the evidence. Every time you held your peace, heaven recorded it. And now the release has come. You see, there's a power in holding your peace that words can't carry. When you let God handle what your flesh wanted to control, you unlocked divine vengeance. He said, "Vengeance is mine," and you believed him. That's why no weapon formed against you worked, because you didn't try to fight it in your own strength. And now he's about to show everyone that silence was your strategy, not your weakness. Those who once called you passive will now call you powerful. You stayed quiet when it was tempting to clap back, and that discipline saved your destiny. God was testing your control, because great callings require great restraint. He was teaching you that not every insult deserves a reaction, and not every attack requires your attention. Now you'll see why he told you to stay still, because while you were resting, he was resurrecting what they thought was dead. He was rebuilding your name, restoring your credibility, and reversing every word curse spoken against you. And when he's finished, even your silence will echo louder than their noise ever did. Chosen one, you don't even need to explain yourself anymore. God is about to use results to speak where your words couldn't. The very ones who questioned your silence will now watch your elevation in awe. Your breakthrough will be your explanation. Your glow-up will be your response. Every time someone asks, "Why didn't you say something back then?" you'll just smile, because now they can see what words could never explain. They'll see that silence wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. They'll see that your quiet wasn't retreat, it was realignment.